Hey Miss Mamas, and welcome to episode 2 of my Back to the Basics series. In the last episode, we learned how to properly hydrate our skin and get it prepped for makeup application. In today's episode, we're going to learn how to properly apply our foundation. So let's just go ahead and get right into it. Now sis, you know your foundation routine can really make or break your whole entire makeup look. If you've ever experienced patchiness or creasing, then I've got you covered today. So I'm going to show you my technique, my favorite products, and the tools that I like to use to really get that flawless base and to get my skin to look like second skin. If you ever sat in my chair, then you know, like, you don't just want your makeup to look like second skin. It's going to actually feel like second skin. Like, it's not going to feel too heavy. Before we start applying foundation, I want to get into the first step that some professionals may say is optional, but if you ask me, girl, don't skip this step if you want a flawless base. You want to make sure you start with priming your skin. Now, I have two favorite primers. One is on the higher end and one is on the lower end. But I'm gonna be honest, sometimes I like to use both. Let me show y'all. Now, on the lower end, I like to use the e.l.f. Power Grip Primer. Now guys, this primer is tacky, but it's gonna grip and hold on to that makeup all day, baby. Trust me. Now, if you want added skin benefits like evening out your skin tone, then I would grab the pink one, which is the one that has, I think, 4% niacinamide in it. I would grab that one, but I'm really cool with just using the regular one. I absolutely love this primer. Now, on the more pricier side, I do like to use the Hourglass Mineral Veil Primer. This primer is the truth. It's going to give you that real smooth, poreless finish, and when I tell you your makeup will last throughout the whole night, even if you sweating and dancing the night away, honey, your makeup is going to last. So yeah, like I said, sometimes I'll use one or the other, or I might just use them both together. Let's just use them both together today. Now, when I'm using both, I like to focus my Mineral Veil Primer kind of more so in the center of my face, because I feel like that's where I sweat the most and my pores are just a little bit more noticeable in that area. And I feel like this primer is really want to go ahead and fill that in and smooth that out. And then I'm going to use my e.l.f. primer on the rest of my face just to give it that sticky finish and really hold on to my makeup. Now, you don't need to apply a lot of product. You want to make sure you're using a very thin, even layer when you're putting this on your face. And you want to make sure you let your primer sit on your skin for a good 60 seconds before you put your foundation on top. I know, sis, you can wait a minute. Alright, now I'm going to go ahead and apply that mineral veil right in the center of my face. And it does give like a blue tint, but don't worry. I think it's the SPF in it. And that's another thing I did forget to mention. The Hourglass primer does also have added skin benefits, which is an additional SPF 15. Alright, now I'm going in with my Power Grip, and I'm just putting that all on the rest of my face. And again, I'm just doing a very thin, even layer. Now the face is all ready and primed, we can move on to the next step. Now, before we get into foundation, I do want to take a moment to address my girlies who may be suffering from some hyperpigmentation or maybe some dark marks from some old acne scars. I want to talk about how to cover those properly before putting on your foundation. Now, I know a lot of my darker girls may color correct with more of those orange colors. On a lower end, you can use something like the LA Girl Pro Concealer in the shade Orange Corrector, or you can use my favorite from MAC, which is the Prep and Prime Highlighter Pens in the shade Peach Lustre. Now, if you're a beginner or somebody who just want to do a cute little quick beat at home, I would honestly ditch the color correctors. How many of you have actually used color correctors and when you got done your makeup, you felt like you looked like Trumpiana? We don't want to give that. I'm going to show you an easier way to cover those dark marks without looking like an Oompa Loompa. You want to make sure you grab a concealer that's your shade. That's right, a concealer that's your shade. And I know you're probably wondering, why can't I just use my foundation? And you can. You would just have to keep building up that coverage if you really want to cover those dark marks. But if you use a concealer, it will help conceal those blemishes, because concealer usually have a thicker, creamier texture than a foundation. So you just want to use something like this first. Now, honestly, I don't really have blemishes on my face, but for the sake of the video, I'm just going to try to choose some little slight imperfections that I have, like right here. And honestly, we can use PLouise for the demonstration. Now again, we're using a concealer that's your shade. My favorite is the Too Faced Born This Way concealer, and the concealer that I feel is closer to my skin tone shade is Chestnut. Now when you have blemishes and stuff on your face, I would recommend not using the applicator directly. You can if it's your product, but you might be spreading the germs from your acne from one place to another if you actually have like 3D acne like I do right now. So what I like to do is just kind of take some of that product and put it on the back of my hand like so. And I'm going to show you 3 different brushes that you can use. You can use like a flat brush. This is my PLouise brush in number 7072. You can use that to actually apply the foundation, and then you can use something a little bit more fluffy, any fluffy brush. I just picked up my MORPHE M441 brush to blend out the edges. Or you can just use one brush, which I like to use, and that is my Real Techniques brush in a number 210. It's flat and dense, but it's also fluffy enough to blend out edges. So just for an example, I'm going to use PLouise, and let's just pretend that she's actually a dark mark. Let's pretend that she's just not red and puffy. But even the fact that she's red and puffy, I'm just going to show you how we're going to conceal the redness. When you apply your concealer to your blemishes, you want to tap it right on there, right? Tap, 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 tap. And you see how we covered that? So yeah, we can still see that she's 3D, but we can't see that she's red. She's just looking more of a skin tone color. Even right here, this little blemish that I have here, I'm just going to tap that on real easy. Same spot. Tap, 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 tap. And she looked like she's pretty much gone, right? You can take a paper towel, or you can use the back of your hand to kind of take off the excess product off your brush. That's all I'm doing here. And what I want to do is just blend those edges out so that it's blending right into the skin. You see that? And what that is going to do is just to make sure that it don't look like you just put a big glob of product in one spot. You want to blend out the edges of that. So you don't want to move the product that you tap onto your blemish, because you want to keep that coverage there. You don't want to move that coverage around. It's not giving it. Just blend out the edges of that. You see that? Even where we did PLouise, I'm just going to blend out the edges of that concealer, but not really where I tapped the main product. We want to keep it there. And you just let that sit there and you let that dry down. Even if you want to conceal under your eye, let me take some more product out. Put it on the back of my hand. I can even use that same brush. And let's say I just want to have that extra coverage under the eye. You see how I'm just tapping that on? I'm looking up and I'm tap, tap, tapping. We're not blending out. We're not painting it on. We're tapping it on. And you see how it's giving you that nice, pretty coverage just by tapping. Do you see the difference that make? Flawless. Even if you want to cover your little mustache like me. I'm just going to tap, 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 tap. Do you see the difference it's making from just me covering just those areas where it's just a little bit darker than the rest of my skin? And my skin still looks like skin. I'm going to go ahead and do the other side, and then we can get started on foundation. Alright, so now that we've corrected any hyperpigmentation or blemishes, we can go ahead and grab our foundation. If you know, you know, I love the NARS Natural Radiant Foundation. I am in the shade Macao, and I absolutely love this foundation because it's going to give you that soft, silky, skin-like finish. It's breathable, it's buildable, and it's medium to full coverage. And let me tell you something, even if you feel like you're sweating your makeup off and you look a mess, honey, trust me, with this foundation, you will not. So to apply this foundation, you can either use a brush or a sponge, but my personal preference is a brush. And the reason why I like to use a brush is because I do like medium to full coverage. If you like your coverage to be a little bit more medium to soft, I will go ahead and grab a sponge. Now, if you're going to use the sponge, you want to make sure it's nice and damp. But always remember, by using a damp sponge, you're going to get less coverage. The denser or fuller your brush, you're going to get fuller coverage. Now, to apply my foundation, I typically like to use the number 12 brush from ULTA, but it seems like they revamped their whole brush collection. So I hate to recommend this brush to you guys because I don't think you'll be able to find it in stores. It seems like they've revamped their precision foundation brush from number 12 to 106. And as you can see, it's a bit thicker and a bit denser to me. So I feel like it will give you more of a full coverage, but this is the brush that we're going to try today. But I'm going to ditch my number 12 brush because you guys won't be able to find that in stores, and we're going to try our number 106 brush today. It's marketed as the same brush, it has the same name, just a different number, and it's shaped different and it's a little bit fuller, but I don't think that's a problem. We want to use this one today. So I'm going to actually use the brush on one side, and then I'm going to show you guys how to use the sponge on the other side. So let's go ahead and start with our 106 brush first. So again, I am in the shade Macao, and what I like to do is just take my pump and kind of pump some on the back of my hand. And pro tip, if you don't want to be getting your hands dirty while doing your makeup, just put on a latex free glove. So I picked up some of the product with my brush, and the best tip and the key takeaway that I want you guys to take away from this video in regards to using a brush when applying your foundation. You don't want to buff it on, you don't want to paint it on, you want to press it into the skin. If you're not pressing your foundation into your skin, that's why it's not looking like the professionals. That's why it's looking creasy, patchy, and just all over the place, because you're not tapping it in just like how we did the concealer. So we're pretty much going to use that same technique with the foundation. And I'm just going to start kind of in the center of my face and then blend it out. And the reason why you want to start in the center of the face and then blend it out is because you kind of want most of your product like pretty much here, and then as you're getting to the edges, that's when you want less product, and you want to just start blending it down to the neck. But you don't want to blend so much product down into the neck because you don't want it to get all on your clothes. But you see how I'm just pressing that into the skin, and this side just looks like, it just still looks like my skin. And it feels lightweight too. It does not even feel like I have on foundation. And that is the biggest key. You don't want your foundation to feel all heavy. So you just want to press it in until you feel like, alright, it's pressed in good enough. Just want to kind of make sure this side is all good and dandy. And also make sure you get this little piece of skin behind your ear too. Don't forget that part. And I like to kind of go right up under that ear and just make sure we blend that down so it all looks nice and seamless. See? Alright, this side is looking good, but I'm going to show you guys how to use the sponge on this side. Now, it's shaped like an egg for a reason. You want to use the pointy side when you are applying your concealer, but we're going to use the butt of the egg to apply the foundation. So again, I'm just going to put some on the back of my hand. And again, we're going to turn our egg upside down and use the butt of it. So I'm going to pick up the product, the butt of it, and again, start in the center of that face and pounce it on the skin. So pretty much the same technique with the brush in terms of pressing it in the skin. But this time with the sponge, we're just pouncing it. And you're going to get a nice coverage with this, but it's just not going to be as full as the brush. I don't know if you guys can really tell the difference on camera. But again, I also like to make sure I get right up under that chin. You want to make sure you blending your foundation down. And also get that little strip of skin right there. Blend that all in, and voila, you're done. Now, if you use the brush on this side and you're feeling like, oh no, this is a little bit too much for me, you can still go in with your damp sponge, okay, and just kind of shear it out. Pounce it on there, shear it out. It's okay to mess up. Just shear it out with your damp sponge. And it's literally that easy. Alright, now that you've applied your foundation seamlessly, we can start highlighting and contouring the face. But I'll save that tea for the next episode. If you try this technique, whether with the brush or the sponge, let your girl know. In the meantime, if you found this video helpful, make sure you hit that like button, make sure you subscribe, and hit that bell notification so that you don't miss episode 3, where we're going to really get into the art of highlighting and contouring. Thank you so much for watching this episode, and I'll see you in the next one.